Hello everyone, this is Raja Ramesh and welcome back to TypeScript and Playwright Journey. In the previous video, we have learned about function overloading. In this video, we will learn about anonymous and arrow function. We will see what these two are, why we use these, and what are the similarities and differences between these two. Functions are one of the most important topic of TypeScript, and these two functions help to write the code more cleaner and efficient. So why exactly we use anonymous and arrow functions? We use these two to make the code more cleaner and more readable. So we will see what is an anonymous function and how and why we use arrow functions, also the difference between regular and arrow functions. Basically speaking, an anonymous function is a function without name. But how can we use these when we want those in further statements? Means they are often assigned to a variable so that we can use those using that variable name. We will see that in an example. Along with that, usually anonymous functions are used as callbacks in another function. This means we have seen a concept of passing parameters to functions. So whenever the parameter of a function is a function again, so we are passing a function itself as a parameter to another function. In that cases, we can use this and those are called as callback functions. We will see some example of using anonymous function as a callback function in some array functions. Let us open our Visual Studio Code and try to write some anonymous function so that we will understand the syntax and usage of this. Now I am in my functions demo.ts file which we already created for demoing functions. I will add this in the same file. I just commented out all the code and let us write a function to greet some person. So if you remember from earlier videos, we already written some functions to greet some user like this. So function greet user and we used that same example for using optional parameters, default parameters, everything. So I'm going to use the same thing again. So if you remember, we used function space function name as greet like that. We will write a anonymous function and assign that to a variable. So we will take a variable const greet. This will be acting as a name of function in fact. And function, now we don't need to provide any name and simply pass the parameters name and the data type and write the body of the method which will be returning a string hello $name. So this is how we define an anonymous function, and whenever I want to use this, I will call this as, for example, in a console.log, I pass this as greet of Raja. And if you see running this, you see hello Raja is printed, and this is called an anonymous function. And we also said an anonymous function can be used as a callback in another function. We will see an example for that. I will comment out this again and take some array of numbers and provide the values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So I have an array of numbers, and now we actually want another array which should have squares of all these numbers, or I can say I need to perform some same operation on all the elements of these numbers, and I need to get those numbers, get those results into a new array. Got it? And using some for loop, I can loop through the elements of numbers and I will assign those results into squared array. But that will be a complex process. But TypeScript allows a simpler way using anonymous functions inside those array functions. So what I will do now is const squared array equal to numbers dot. So we will see array functions when we use a dot operator on an array. We will discuss about array functions in detail because we skipped array functions earlier. We didn't know about functions. So now we know arrays and we know functions. So we'll cover a complete video to cover available array functions, which is very important while working with TypeScript, as well as it will be very helpful for interviews. So now numbers dot map, we have a special function called map on arrays. So what it does is you can get some helps on this. So it calls a defined callback function. We need to provide a callback function inside this, and it will be executed on each element of the array and returns an array that contains the results. So now inside this we need to have one more function which performs the required operation. In our case it is squaring of each number. So the callback function will be executed on each element of the given array. So here we write function. So we are just writing an anonymous function and which should accept some number and it returns number star number. We called map function on numbers and the anonymous function is accepting a number. So that number will be one element at a time from this number and it calculates number star number, which is the square of the number itself, and all the results will be saved into squared array. So that all the results will be formed as an array and it will be returned by map and will be saved into squared array. So if you see by logging this to console.log or squared array, if you run this clear and run this, you will see the output on terminal like 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, which is nothing but the squares of all the elements of the actual numbers array. Got it? This is how we use anonymous functions inside another function as callback function. See, this is the anonymous function which does not have any name here. And now we will see what is an arrow function. So simply saying, arrow functions are shorter way to write functions in TypeScript. So we don't need to write function name and provide the body and do the operation inside that. So instead of that, whenever our functions are smaller, we can go for shorter way of that function using the arrow functions by using equals and greater than symbol. So we are saying arrow functions simply as a shorter way to write functions in TypeScript. You can observe we are not using function keyword here and it is more readable. In the first line we have const greet equal to, we wrote the same thing as anonymous function if you remember, and we created a const called greet and we wrote like function and parameter list and the body of the function, everything. But if we write the same thing as an arrow function, we will be writing like this: const and greet equal to, simply provide the parameter with this value, it gives hello and name, the variable which we use here. Done, that's all. So this is equivalent to all these three lines. Okay, so we are assigning to the variable called greet. So we are taking a number, we are taking a string. Given a string, it gives hello and that string itself. And whenever we log the same thing again, console.log, and inside that we greet Raja. If we run this, you will see the same output, hello and Raja. So this is how we write a simple arrow function. And now let us see writing an arrow function for a callback, because anyhow we are using anonymous functions as callbacks, right? So arrow function can make it more simpler. So I will comment out this again. We will use the same example which we used earlier and we write that as arrow function. So I will uncomment this line. I will add here. So instead of writing this one, you can guess this. So it will be const squared array equal to, what we need to do. So instead of writing the body, everything again, just simply we put given numbers dot map of number gives number or num star num. Got it? We are calling that on numbers, and at each time it will be taking one element from numbers and it will be doing this operation, and at the end all the results will be saved into an array that will be returned to this one. And if we log this again, you should see the same output as earlier, the squared array. See, this is how it is working. So this is the arrow function which is used as a callback function, and this is an anonymous function which is used as arrow function. Speaking about differences between regular and arrow functions, first the similar point is both anonymous functions and arrow functions do not have any name when they are defined, and often they are used as callback functions or they are assigned to a variables for reusing. And the difference lies in the syntax. We already seen the syntax is different while defining an anonymous function and an arrow function. And there is another difference when we call the keyword this. Let us see that. So in TypeScript, this keyword helps to refer to the current object's value. We will see that in an example. For example, if you remember creating objects, I am creating an object called person, and that is having a property called name, which is Raja, and I have a method inside that called greet, and it will be a function, and in that we will be writing console.log and hello comma, and here simply instead of dollar this dot name, so the current object's value will be referred here, and we used an anonymous function here, and in that anonymous function we used the keyword this. So while doing this type of operations, it did not complain anything. And now if we try to call greet, simply we can see the output as hello Raja. So this is referring to the current object's value itself, but it is not allowed when we are using arrow functions. Alright. So if we try to do the same thing, see, try to convert the same thing into arrow function, so that so instead of person 2, and it will be Raja, and instead of writing an anonymous function over here, how we make that? We don't have function keyword, so we can remove that, and it is not accepting any parameters, so put empty braces, and it gives so the arrow symbol, and write the body as console.log. Okay, it is giving error. We removed person, so console.log, and we try to use this dot name, and if you see the error, we got the containing arrow function captures the global value of this. Okay, so the way how we use this keyword is differing when we are using anonymous function and arrow function. The same thing is allowed when we used anonymous function, but it is restricting in arrow function. This is one of the difference along with the syntax. So with this, we covered two important concepts in TypeScript called anonymous functions and arrow functions. Let us see more about arrays in our next video. We will try to cover the most possible array functions. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.